Okay. So today we're back with the adventures of the Bailey School kids, werewolves. Don't go to summer camp. And we're having a sit down, relaxing, eat in the kitchen lunch. So everybody's kind of with me. So you may hear people chiming in with questions or statements. Or chewing. I'm sorry, this is a household filled with kids.
Me.
Exactly, yeah. Say my son, yeah, that's me. It's a household filled with kids. Alright, so we left off on chapter 5, where Eddie was going to proceed to sleep outside alone to prove that he wasn't scared. So here we go. Chapter 5, A Cold Night in Camp Lone Wolf. Eddie didn't really think there were any wolves within 2,000 miles of Camp Lone Wolf, but he put his sleeping bag next to the fire just in case. Howie stood close to the fire with Liza and Melanie. Excuse me, I have hiccups. Melanie.
Yeah, you better have some garlic too in case any vampires try to show up.
Oh, my son said you need garlic too for those werewolves in case they try to show up. He threw a twig on the blaze and Howie, I'm sorry. Howie threw the twig on the blaze as he looked at Eddie. You didn't really have to sleep out here. We all know you're not chicken. Why don't you come inside? Yeah, it's cold tonight, Liza shivered, in spite of her blue Bailey school jacket. I'm as warm as toast, Eddie said as he snuggled down into the sleeping bag. Melanie pulled the hood up on her jacket. You'd have to be crazy. He is crazy. You'd have to be crazy to want to stay out here, especially after what I saw last night. You ought to sleep inside where you have perfectly warm, safe bed. I'm safe and warm right here, where I am, Eddie insisted. Melanie sighed, shaking her head. Well, you can't say we didn't warn you. It's your funeral, Howie shrugged. Howie, Liza, and Melanie turned and walked towards their cabins. Sweet dreams, Liza called to Eddie. See you in the morning, Eddie mumbled. I hope so, Melanie whispered under her breath. The minute they left, Eddie got colder. It was hard to believe he was hard to believe he was sweating earlier in the day because now he was so chilled his bones hurt.
How is that even possible?
You get so cold you shiver and your body hurts. It gets stiff is what it does.
Oh, that makes sense.
This really is stupid, Eddie grumbled to himself. There's no reason for me to suffer like this. Still planning on sleeping out, Mr. Jenkins' booming voice made Eddie jump. I bet it did. I'd be freaked out too if I thought I was by myself.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, Eddie sounded more sure than he felt. Mr. Jenkins stood a few feet from the fire. Are you sure you're tough enough to stay out here by yourself? It gets mighty dark in these woods.
I would say, sir, yes, sir.
My son's going to treat it like it's a drill sergeant. I'm not scared, Eddie said. Mr. Jenkins smacked his lips and looked at the sky. The moon's almost full, he growled. It will make the night a little lighter, but make sure you have extra firewood just in case. Just in case of what, Eddie asked. But Mr. Jenkins had already left. Eddie watched as he disappeared behind a clump of birch trees. The leaves rustled, and then everything became still. It was so quiet, Eddie could hear the toilet flushing in the cabin silver wolf. Dang. Afraid of the dark, Eddie mumbled. Whoever heard of such garbage? Eddie snuggled into his sleeping bag. He really was tired. The flames of the campfire died down as Eddie closed his eyes to sleep. Suddenly, the clinking of metal came from the forest. Eddie's eyes popped open in time to see leaves trembling on some nearby brush. Who's there? Eddie whispered hoarsely. There was no answer. It must be the wind, Eddie muttered. He pulled his sleeping bag up to his chin, but kept his eyes on the bushes. He watched them from what seemed like hours. All of a sudden, Eddie heard a loud rustling sound. In the eerie glow of the moon, Eddie could have sworn he saw a hairy beast darting through the bushes. It looked too big to be an ordinary wolf. Holy Toledo, Eddie yelled. He dived inside his sleeping bag and waited to be eaten. He mumbled every prayer he knew. If you'll just let me live, I promise I'll never beat up my sister again. Then he heard it, a howl.
Excuse me, what?
Excuse you, what? What?
What do you mean by beat up his sister?
I'm sure it was like play beating up, like how you and Sophie and Lily kind of smack each other around when you're playing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I bet it does. Except you guys all know you're losing to Lily, right?
Yeah, she's a maniac.
She kind of is. She's a good maniac, though. Then he heard it, a howl that started softly and grew louder until it pierced the night. The fire, Eddie remembered. He scrambled out of his sleeping bag and frantically searched for twigs to throw on the dying fire. His hands got tangled in vines, leaving scratch marks on his skinny arms. Eddie didn't notice because another howl echoed from the bushes. It sounded closer now. Eddie's hands closed around a bunch of twigs and dry leaves. This better work, he said as he threw them on the campfire. Eddie heard another howl as he took a deep breath and blew on the leaves and twigs. But there was still no flame. He blew harder and watched as the twigs caught fire and started burning. He kept blowing on the burning twigs until the flames jumped high in the air. "You can't get me now," Eddie yelled into the forest. The howls changed to yelps, then died away. "Wow, that really worked," Eddie exclaimed, "but I don't know for how long." He looked once more at the bushes before he dashed into Camp Silverwolf. "Wake up," he screamed. A few kids grumbled from under their covers. "Shut up, we're trying to sleep," Howie mumbled from his bunk. Eddie bounded up to Howie's bed. What do you think you're doing? Get off my bunk," Howie shrieked. Eddie grabbed Howie by the shoulders. "I heard it." "Heard what?" Howie asked. "The wolf. I heard the werewolf." "Maybe in your dreams," Howie grumbled. He hated being woken up. "Listen, this is for real," Eddie declared. "Didn't you hear it too? I thought you didn't believe in werewolves," Howie laughed. Then they both heard the howl of a lone wolf in the distance. "Now do you believe me?" Eddie asked soberly.
Well, that's kind of karma.
Kind of is. Chapter 6. No ordinary wolf. At breakfast the next morning, Melanie dipped her fork into the soggy scrambled eggs on her plate. "This looks like chicken brains."
Soggy eggs is worse than soggy bagels.
Words of an 11-year-old. "Brains are the least of our worries," Eddie said. "There's a werewolf stalking this camp." "You guys are just trying to scare us," Liza insisted. "I don't believe in werewolves." "Then what did I see last night?" Eddie asked. "And what did I hear?" Howie turned to Liza. "It could have been just a regular wolf," Liza said. "After all, we are in the middle of the woods." "It could have been," Melanie said. "But I saw it too, and it wasn't an ordinary wolf. It looked more like part wolf and part man." "A wolf man," Eddie whispered. "A werewolf," Howie nodded.
So, kind of like a type of centaur?
Except those are generally horses, centaurs, and humans. But yes, I get your point. Certain religions have these beliefs, certain ideas too. Definitely certain cultures.
Yeah, that tracks.
It does. "A werewolf," Howie nodded. "And I'm sure it was wearing dog tags," Melanie said softly. "And I heard something jingling like dog tags," Eddie agreed. "It's an army wolf," Liza giggled. "Maybe," Melanie said, "it's Mr. Jenkins."
I didn't know that Mr. Jenkins was a professional
Werewolf or army recruiter.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Okay. They all looked at their camp director. He was wolfing down a huge stack of pancakes at a table in front of the dining hall. "You'd think he had never heard of a razor," Melanie grumbled. "He's still wearing the same clothes, the same dog tags and no shoes." "He may be a slob," Liza said, "but he's not a werewolf. Whoever heard of a werewolf in a kid's summer camp?" This is Bailey City.
Ask any 90s kid, they would tell you.
My son said, just ask any 90s kid, they'll tell you. You know, like where these books came from. "You hear about crazy people everywhere," Howie said. "Why not at summer camp?" "It's a perfect place for victims," Melanie agreed. "Look at all these defenseless kids." The dining hall was filled with sleepy-eyed campers eating their eggs or pancakes. "Well, we're not going to be victims." Eddie pounded the table. "At least not if I can help it." "What can you do?" Melanie asked. "I don't know," Eddie admitted. "I think we should explore Mr. Jenkins' cabin," Howie said. "If we could just get in there, I bet we'd find something we could use." "You mean inside Mr. Jenkins' cabin?" Liza asked. "Are you crazy?" Melanie asked. "He'd kill us if he found us there." "There's a chance we'll have to take," Eddie said. "We'll go tonight."
If I had to fight a werewolf face to face, I'd just whip out my karate moves.
Oh boy. Mr. Minagi over here. Alright, Chapter 7. In the Wolf's Den. For the rest of the day, Eddie, Howie, Melanie, and Liza avoided Mr. Jenkins like poison ivy. When he was teaching archery, they took art and crafts. When he was in charge of canoeing, they took archery. I wonder if an arrow shot through the heart would kill a werewolf, Melanie asked, as she missed the bullseye with her arrow. No, Eddie said. Werewolves are killed with a silver bullet. How do you know? Liza asked. I saw it on the Late Late Show, Eddie said.
Yeah,
well, this is in the movie.
Yeah, that does kind of track because when it comes to the tales of mythical creatures, the stick killing thing is strictly to vampires.
Oh, like a stake to the heart?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also garlic and doors. Those are the other two.
Doors?
Yeah, because a vampire is not allowed to go into the house unless they're welcome.
Unless they're welcomed in. Okay. Things I forget. Well, this isn't a movie, Howie said. So make sure you stay away from Mr. Jenkins until we can get into his cabin. After archery practice, it was time for dinner. Unfortunately, Mr. Jenkins decided to sit by Melanie, the dog tags around his neck clanking when he plopped down on the bench. His hair was matted and his beard almost touched his plate of fried chicken. Melanie couldn't help but notice that Mr. Jenkins smelled like a dirty tennis shoe. There's a scent.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to when my mom gets home and her feet smell like those corn chips.
Great. Have kids, they said. It'll be great. And then they tell all your secrets and stories. Yes, my feet sweat. Yes, I wear work boots all the time. Great.
And I still don't know why.
I have to out there. You can't have regular shoes. You have to have steel toes.
Oh yeah, because of the heavy machinery.
Bingo. How's camp life? He growled as he chewed the meat off of a chicken leg. Fine, Melanie whispered, edging away from him. Mr. Jenkins sucked on the meatless bones. You better eat, Mr. Jenkins says as he cracked the bones with his teeth. You need to fatten up. There's not enough meat on you to make a good sandwich. Melanie pushed her plate of fried chicken away. I guess I'm not very hungry, she whimpered.
I'm still trying to figure out if chicken legs are actually made out of chicken leg meat. Really? I thought they were made out of the other parts of the chicken.
We'll unpack that after. I'm going to finish reading for right now. I don't know how he figured that, but okay. Melanie pushed her plate of fried chicken away. I guess I'm not very hungry, she whimpered. Can't let that food go to waste. I'm so hungry I could eat an entire chicken, feathers and all, Mr. Jenkins said. He reached over and grabbed a drumstick from her plate. Melanie, Liza, Howie, and Eddie watched as Mr. Jenkins tore the meat from the bone. Then he gnawed on the bones until it was clean. Nothing like a good leg, Mr. Jenkins said as he wiped grease from his beard. You kids better finish dinner. Your cabin counselors are getting ready to teach you how to build a campfire. It's an important skill if you want to survive in the wilderness.
I mean, I know how to sort of make a campfire. All you really need to do is get a giant log, but not so giant, and a bunch of twigs, and then start rubbing on the giant stick until it eventually lights up.
I thought you were going to say you just need a family friend with a bottle of hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I guess hand sanitizer would work too if you're going by my family standards.
Lord have mercy. There's a whole story to that, but yeah.
But that's for another time.
That's for never. It's crazy.
Well, you could learn about it if you went onto my YouTube channel.
No.
Never mind.
We're not going to start fires, kids. Please don't do that. Adult supervision is required. And not the adult I was with him that day.
There were actually 3
No
adults.
one got hurt. Let me just be clear on that. Eddie spoke up. Why don't you teach us? Mr. Jenkins scratched his beard and glared at Eddie. I leave the campfires for others to build. I find the heat a bit uncomfortable. With that, Mr. Jenkins stalked over to the dining hall. Did you see how he chewed on that bone? Melanie hissed. Eddie barely nodded. And did you notice he's getting much hairier? Liza didn't say a word. She was too busy eating the rest of her food. Mr. Jenkins was nowhere in sight while the camp counselors taught the campers to build a fire.
I knew the meat was a dead giveaway.
Okay. Where do you think he is? Melanie whispered to Eddie. I bet he's already out howling. You heard what he said about still being hungry, Eddie said. Maybe we better not go to his cabin. Howie whispered. It might not be safe. Melanie shook her head. It won't be safe for any of us if we don't go. Melanie's right, Eddie said. We'll meet back here at midnight. Be sure no one hears you sneaking out. That night, after everyone else had crawled into their beds and gone to sleep, Melanie and Liza sneaked out of their cabin. It wasn't long before Howie and Eddie joined them by the ashes of the campfire. Now, remember, Howie said, we've got to find something that will save us from werewolves. Liza shook her head. You guys are so silly. There aren't any werewolves. You might not be so sure.
Wait, what is a thing that can propel werewolves?
We just told you a silver bullet, remember?
Yeah, but that's one of the ways. But what else? Probably like a witch's potion or something?
Oh boy. Okay.
Or maybe like unicorn poo? That's the only thing I can really think of right now.
Oh my god. Okay. Yep. He's 11. Enjoy that. You might not be so sure once we see the inside of Mr. Jenkins' cabin, Melanie said. The windows in their counselor's cabin were dark as they crept up and peeking inside. Just then, the howl of a wolf sounded in the distance. Liza almost jumped on top of Melanie. Howie grabbed Eddie's arms. I know he wouldn't be here, Eddie said. He's the one doing the howling. Come on, Melanie said bravely. Let's go inside. We're lucky the door's not locked, Howie said as the door creaked open. It was so dark inside they could hardly see anything. Liza pulled a small flashlight out of her jean pocket and flashed it around. Wolf posters hung on the rough wooden walls. The cabin was only large enough for a small dresser, a chair, and a bed. Books were piled all over the floor. Howie picked one up and gulped. What is it? Melanie asked. Howie's voice shook. It's called the Encyclopedia of Wolves and Wolf Lore. That proves it, Eddie said excitedly. Mr. Jenkins is a werewolf. That doesn't prove anything, Liza said as she shone her light on the books. Maybe he's just a wolf nut. He's a nut, all right, Eddie agreed. A werewolf nut. Look, Howie interrupted. There's a whole chapter on werewolves. See, Liza? They do exist, Melanie said. Howie read aloud from the book. 2 plants commonly used to cure werewolves are wolfsbane and mistletoe. Mistletoe, Eddie snickered. What are you supposed to do, kiss him to death? I don't know, Howie admitted. There's a picture of wolfsbane and mistletoe
That's like a joke
right here.
I would make.
It does sound like a joke you would make. Right here in the book. Let's see what it says to do with them. But Howie didn't get a chance. Just then a wolf howl sounded right outside of the cabin door. Chapter 8. A Werewolf Cure. Turn off the flashlight, Eddie whispered. The 4 campers stood in total darkness, listening. Outside the cabin, they could hear something sniffing at the door. It sounded like a huge animal. Liza shivered. With dog tags, Melanie said. There was no mistaking it. They all heard the clanking of metal, and then the doorknob began to rattle. Quick, Eddie whispered, out of the window. Howie pushed. I can't get the window open, he gasped. Shh, Melanie said. It's leaving. And indeed, the doorknob wasn't rattling anymore, and the sniffing noise had stopped. No one said a word as they listened. Whenever they had been there was gone, or whatever had been there, it was gone. I thought we were dead meat, Eddie whispered. Me too, Melanie admitted. Now, do you believe there's a werewolf, she asked. You believe there's she asked Liza. Do you believe? Liza nodded, her eyes wide. And it wears dog tags, Howie said softly. There's only one person I know who wears dog tags, Melanie whispered. Mr. Jenkins, they all said together. After they snuck back to their cabins, none of the kids were able to sleep. They were too busy thinking about a werewolf stalking their camp. When they met in the dining hall for breakfast the next morning, they were already tired. We've got to get that book told us about, Eddie said as he nibbled on burnt toast. But we don't even know.
I thought I heard you say foot toast.
No, burnt toast. Nobody's eating foot toast. He's got feet on the mind. But we don't even know what wolfsbane and mistletoe look like, Melanie snapped. I do, Howie said softly. I saw the pictures. That settles it, Eddie declared. We're in the middle of the woods. I'm sure we can find mistletoe or wolfsbane. But I didn't have time to read about those plants, Howie interrupted. We don't know what to do with them once we found them. We'll just have to figure it out, Eddie said.
The best way I could describe a mistletoe is basically 2 cherries with 2 pine, with 2 of those leaves on that one tree that shock you if you touch them.
They don't shock you. They hurt if you touch the ends. And those aren't cherries, they're berries.
Yeah, berries.
Okay.
And I still don't know the difference between the 2.
We're gonna have to work on that. We're not eating any of that stuff. Hold on. That settles it, Eddie declared. We're in the middle of the woods. I'm sure we can find mistletoe or wolfsbane. But I didn't have time to read about those plants, Howie interrupted. We don't know what to do with them once we found them. We'll just have to figure it out, Eddie said. They gobbled down the rest of their breakfast and followed the other campers outside. When they were sure that no one was looking, they all slipped behind a cabin and into the trees. How hard can it be to find mistletoe and wolfsbane? Eddie asked. Tell us what it looks like, Howie. Howie thought for a minute and then said, mistletoe has white berries and wolfsbane has big purple flowers on it. Great. Eddie rubbed his hands together excitedly. We'll find this stuff in no time flat. Then we'll really fix Mr. Jenkins. You don't think it'll hurt him, do you? Liza asked. Nah, Eddie said impatiently.
How does one become a werewolf?
I don't know yet, but hold on, let me finish this. It'll help him be normal again. I bet he hates being a werewolf. For one thing, he can never have a steady girlfriend if he is turned into a werewolf every night. There's a full moon. Not unless his girlfriend is a she-wolf, Melanie giggled. Very funny, Eddie said. Now let's spread out and find this stuff. Everybody glued their eyes to the ground, looking for anything that had white berries or purple flowers. Howie managed to run into a tree, but nobody found any wolfsbane or mistletoe. I don't think we're going to find it, Liza complained. Why don't we go back to the camp and go swimming? It's getting hot.
Wait, she-wolf.
Melanie was ready to agree with Liza.
I recognize that word from somewhere, but I don't think I can say it due to YouTube guidelines.
No. Melanie was ready to agree with Liza when she saw something in the trees. Look, she shouted, I think it's mistletoe. She reached up and pulled down a big clump. Great, Liza smiled. Now we can get out of here. Not until we find the wolfsbane, Eddie said. Howie had been out of sight for the last few minutes. But now he came out from behind the tree shouting, Look, you guys, I found wolfsbane. All right, Eddie slapped Howie on the back. Now, we're ready to use this stuff on Mr. Jenkins. How are we going to use it? Melanie asked. You just leave that to me, Eddie said. I'll take care of everything. Fine with me, Liza said quickly. Just tell me the way back to camp. That way, Howie, Melanie, and Eddie all said together. Unfortunately, they were all pointing in different directions. Very funny, Liza said. But which way is it really? Don't tell me we're lost, Melanie said. We're not lost, Howie said confidently. I'll show you the way. He started walking, and everyone joined in behind him. They walked a long way, but nothing looked familiar. We've never passed this rock before, Liza whimpered. Now we're really lost, Eddie said as he wiped the sweat from his forehead. I knew we should have gone my way. Well, if you're so smart, why don't you just show us how to get out of here? Howie's face was red. I'll do just that. Eddie started walking in another direction. Wait, Eddie, Melanie hissed. I think I hear something. They all listened as a clanking sound got closer and closer. It's Mr. Jenkins, he said. Going to eat us up, Liza cried. Don't worry, Eddie said as he picked up a big stick. Werewolves only eat people at night. I hope you're right, Liza whispered as Mr. Jenkins broke through the trees. His hairy face and arms made him look like an ape or wild dog. He wore the same clothes and still had no shoes on. Why are you kids away from camp? He boomed. We were just out enjoying the woods, Eddie lied. We sort of lost our way, Liza admitted. Mr. Jenkins growled more than he talked. The first rule of camping is to stay on a marked trail. You kids might have been lost out here for days. The wild animals would love to have you for lunch. That's what we're afraid of, Melanie said. Mr. Jenkins gave her a dark look and bellowed. You kids follow me back to camp and don't go out on your own again. Ooh, he's mad. If you want to explore so badly, I'll have to teach you.
Reading it, he doesn't. He sounds more like a middle school English teacher.
I don't know about that. If you want to explore so badly, I'll have to teach you to survive in the woods at night. A night hike might be a perfect time. A night hike, Liza shrieked. Yes, a night hike would be beautiful this time of year. And the moon is full enough for us to see just about everything. Mr. Jenkins scratched hard on his beard and the back of his head, sniffed the air, and then picked up a path through the trees. Make sure you follow me, he growled. Now, what are we going to do, Melanie whispered. We'll have to work fast, Eddie said. We don't have any time to lose. The four campers silently followed Mr. Jenkins back to the camp, with their pockets full of mistletoe and wolfsbane. So we're going to leave off. We'll pick up on Chapter 9, An Unusual Treat. And so you guys can all talk about this chapter and all the craziness you have now heard in the background. I hope your lunch was just as enjoyable. Bye.